Why we're still obsessed with Jennifer Aniston's tragic dating life today as the actress announces her new relationship. We look back on the scrutiny her love life has endured over the years and news that Jennifer Aniston has a new partner, the master hypnotist and author Jim Curtis. Should, by rights, inspire little more than a nod of approval from most people. The 56-year-old actress has been one of the most famous women in the world since Friends. The show that launched her to stardom first appeared on television in 1994. She has also long been one of the most charming and likable stars in Hollywood. Most people would agree she deserves to be happy. Yet for others, she will always be poor Jen, America's, and probably the world's, most famous cuck queen, wife to an adulterous husband, whose charms could apparently not compare to those of Angelina Jolie's. This may be unfair. Correction. It is unfair. But show business has never been a generous-spirited or just industry. Those envious of Aniston's success have always derived some selfish joy from her messy love life, similar to how the public likes to judge other successful women, such as Taylor Swift. Solely through the prism of their relationships, Aniston made her relationship with Curtis insta-official, as the kids say, by including a picture of her bows back on her latest Instagram post. They've been rumored to be an item since July, when a friend told People magazine. They've been seeing each other for a few months now. She's been happy on her own, but she's also open to sharing her life with someone. It could finally signal her happy ending after several very public ups and downs. The most famous is, of course, her marriage to Brad Pitt, whom she first met in 1994, long before either was a global superstar. It was an inauspicious encounter. Aniston later recounted to Rolling Stone that he was just this sweet guy from Missouri. The pair met again 4 years later, after each had separated from their respective partners. She from the OC actor Tate Donovan, and he from Gwyneth Paltrow, and began dating. She was the highest-profile star of the most popular television series in the world, and he was one of the most famous actors on the planet. When they made their red carpet debut together at the Emmy Awards on September 12, 1999, it was treated as the second coming of Elvis, Marilyn Monroe, and JFK all in one. Inevitably, being one half of the world's most talked-about couple placed far more pressure on Aniston than it did on Pitt. While he was regarded with admiration and affection by the media, she was asked intrusive questions which essentially amounted to her having to explain how she had managed to snare America's most desirable man, and, later, why she couldn't make him a father. The tabloids could not resist speculating, constantly, that the two were in trouble. It soon became the case that Aniston appeared to feel a need to share every aspect of her life with the public to downplay the rumors. In February 2004, she told The Guardian that she and Pitt were trying for a baby, but they did not conceive, and Aniston later called this period really hard. She later said in 2022 that, "I was going through IVF, drinking Chinese teas, you name it. I was throwing everything at it. I would have given anything if someone had said to me, 'Freeze your eggs. Do yourself a favor.' You just don't think it. So here I am today. The ship has sailed." She, understandably, chose not to make any of this public at the time, but it also happened to occur amid the widespread speculation about her husband's relationship with his co-star in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Angelina Jolie, who would later replace Aniston as his wife. It has been widely alleged that Pitt and Jolie began an on-set affair and that this led to the end of his marriage. Pitt, Jolie, and Aniston have always denied this. Neither Pitt nor Jolie, however, denied that the on-screen chemistry between them was very real. As Jolie told Vogue, "A few months in, I realized, God, I can't wait to get to work." It was, therefore, all but inevitable on January 7, 2005 that Aniston and Pitt announced their separation in a press release, resulting in countless front-page headlines. When Mr. and Mrs. Smith was released that summer, a mediocre film became a box office hit thanks to the combined star power of its two star lovers. Brangelina took over as the most talked-about couple in the world. They cemented their standing with a 60-page spread in W magazine filled with photographs of them at home in Palm Springs, California. It was both jaw-droppingly insensitive, especially the images of Pitt with Jolie's children, and bizarre. The impression given, rightly or wrongly, was that the two were now the quintessence of all-American success, with Pitt's only recently abandoned former wife but a memory. Aniston gave an interview to Vanity Fair shortly after and candidly remarked, "I can't say it was one of the highlights of my year." Who would deal with that and say, "Isn't that sweet? That looks like fun." But as happens, you joke and say, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." Unfortunately, the details of how she was tearful in the interview, as well as angrily throwing shade at Pitt by saying a man divorcing would never be accused of choosing career over children, led to the beginning of the pervasive poor Jen narrative. Even the detail that Team Aniston t-shirts were outselling Teen Jolie by a factor 25 to 1 could not stop the sense that she had somehow become a pitiable figure. She began another relationship with the actor Vince Vaughn, her co-star, in the appropriately titled 2006 rom-com The Breakup, but that ended shortly after the successful film was released. Even as Pitt airily declared in September 2007 that Jen and I still maintain a deep friendship and have a lot of life together that isn't erased in any way. The very public birth of his and Jolie's first biological child together, Shiloh, Jolie already had 2 adopted children, whom Pitt then co-adopted, represented a considerable blow. Magazines and newspapers that had once been sympathetic towards Aniston now became sneering. Misogynistic headlines screamed poor, single, Brad Pitt-less Jen, and I can't stop loving Brad. Even when she began a relationship with the actor and director Justin Theroux in the spring of 2011, which lasted until 2018, Pitt continued to be the center of attention. He later gave an interview in which he casually rubbished his former marriage, saying, "It became very clear to me that I was intent on trying to find a movie about an interesting life, but I wasn't living an interesting life myself. I think that my marriage had something to do with it." Although he subsequently apologized and called Aniston an incredibly giving, loving, and hilarious woman, the damage to her reputation was done. Perhaps blessedly, things have changed over the past decade. Pitt and Jolie's Everton Pestio's relationship ended in 2016, and the subsequent, remarkably ugly custody battle for their children, and that over their wine business, Maraval, has continued to the present day, damaging Pitt's once bulletproof brand in the process. Aniston found her highest-profile role since Friends in Apple TV's hit series A Morning Show, which began in 2019 and launches its 4th season next week. And she and Pitt now seem to enjoy a genuine friendship that in other words, Aniston has survived an egregiously horrible situation in which the ups and downs, mainly the latter, of her private life are played out in the most.